Awesome. Yeah. And we'll definitely get into all of that. But I completely agree with you. Like, again, the reason why I got involved is because of the people that were behind the project. So I'll probably turn this one over to Bloater. So you guys created a Web3 RPG game. Like, how did you get here? What made you decide to want to build and launch this game? So maybe tell us a little bit about that before we get into the more into the game itself.
Absolutely. So we got our start about, like I said, 13 or 14 months ago. We wanted to take a different approach. We'd all kind of been in the space. We'd seen a lot of okay projects, but we saw a lot of shadiness, a lot of behavior that was really problematic and hurt a lot of people. And so we wanted to take a different approach with our project. And so the first thing we did is when we got this idea together, myself, Sandwich Punch, Baby Punch, when we kind of began this project, began this journey, the first thing we decided was we would not raise funds through a mint, but instead we would go to private investors, pitch them on the idea and raise funds. And then we wouldn't start a Discord or a Twitter. We wouldn't do any marketing until we were very, very close to launch. And I feel like that alone is very different than what most projects, again, having been in the space, that's kind of the opposite of what I saw most projects. And the part of the problem with the other model, a lot of rug pulling, a lot of, hey, I've got this great idea, mint one of my NFTs, and then they disappear for 4 years. They may or may not even do the project. You're kind of left holding the NFT. We didn't want to do that. So that's kind of how our big start was, seeing all these bad projects and the way they were treating their team members, their community. And we thought, hey, we could do this different. The other side of it is we're really passionate gamers. We all love gaming. And we saw this cool marriage or crossroads of Web3 and gaming. And so that's how we kind of got our start here.
Awesome, awesome. Sorry, I was trying to share some tweets. That's good to hear. So before this, let's talk a little bit about the team. So you guys decided to launch this project. What did you see that was missing in the Web3 gaming space that you wanted to maybe take a different approach or a different way of thinking about it? I know, like, maybe not last year, but the year before. I don't know. It's all a blur. But the meta was play to earn, right? That was like the big gaming meta. Is that something that were you guys like completely rejecting that meta and taking a different approach for the game?
Well, and I say this respectfully to other projects, but my frustration as a community member, as someone participating in Web3, was that there were actually really no games, or there were very, very few games, and people would call themselves games, but they would be just like a dressed up, like we're not DeFi, we're not doing single staking. This is not a 40,000% APR day one play. This is an actual game. So our mantra internally is always game first. The game has to be fun. The game has to be polished. It's an actual game. And if you're wondering about gameplay, I have two suggestions. One, if you go to, we've got a lot. We've got our Discord up, we've got our Twitter up, and we have our YouTube up where we've shown gameplay. You can see what it actually is. But it's an old school RPG. You click around, you have a hero, there's over 170 items in game, there's over 40 or 50 monsters in game, there's professional voice acting for monsters and heroes, there's sound effects, there's a very original art from a phenomenal artist. I love our NFT art. There's lore in game, there's different quests you can do. There's so many different like little nuances. Because why? Because it's game first. So to answer your question, what did I see? I saw a lot of projects claiming to be projects, but showing almost no substance. And we wanted to turn that model on its head and say, no, 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 no. We're going to go to market with an actual finished product day one. So when we launch in May, that'll be version 1.0. That's not beta. That's not, hey, play around for 6 months. That's we're launching with a game day one.
And yeah, and May is right around the corner, so definitely excited about that. So from the Web3 blockchain perspective, obviously you guys just announced you're launching on Arbitrum, so huge congrats on that. So we have the NFT part of it, and then the token aspect of it. Do you maybe want to talk about each of them and how they play into the game aspect itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So NFTs are a big part of the game. You need an NFT to play the game. Okay. To get an NFT, there's one of two ways. If you participate in our mint, there will be 2,500 Genesis heroes, which is that opening class or cohort of heroes up for grabs. Once you participate, if you don't participate in the mint, that's your one shot at a Genesis hero. Genesis heroes are unique. We'll talk about that later. If you don't get a Genesis hero, the only way you can play the game is by buying a hero from someone who has a Genesis hero and creates or summons a new hero, if that makes sense. So those 2,500 holders will control the entire hero supply going forward indefinitely. We're not minting new heroes. So if you want in on the game, you have two options. Participate in the mint, which is a Genesis hero, or buy a hero from someone who's playing the game with a Genesis hero. And part of that gameplay is they find additional heroes as they play the game. So to answer your question, that's one aspect of like Web3 NFT. The other side is there's other NFTs you can find in game. So one of them are skill books. Skill books are like spell books that you learn, and when you consume them permanently, you burn the NFT and your hero becomes stronger because it knows like this cool new spell. So think Dungeons and Dragons, think fantasy, think RPG, that side. Now that's the NFT side. That's the blockchain touchpoints side. And we can go deeper on that. The other side is the token. Now, on day one, there will be material token utility. You will need tokens to participate in our competitive season play. When you participate in season play, you are using our token to participate, and your prizes come in the form of our token. Outside of that, if you find a summoning shard, which only Genesis heroes can find them, and that's how they summon new heroes, you need our token to execute that summon. There's a fee for summoning. And then outside of that, when you learn these skill books, which are also NFTs, that there is a small fee in DCX. So day one, there will be DCX utility, and we look to expand that as we go.
That's awesome. And you mentioned something interesting because I'm familiar with the concept of like having the Genesis hero and then doing the summonings, but you mentioned finding heroes. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm coming back to that mantra, game first, right? So I don't want anyone holding one of our NFTs and benefiting. I don't want to incentivize that kind of behavior. I want to incentivize people in the game playing, and I use that word in its real meaning, actually playing, making decisions, making hard choices, taking risks. This isn't a rock, paper, scissors simulator. This is a real game, and you've got to make hard choices and take risks to really drive towards those big prizes. So to answer your question, as you play the game, you got to be playing, and as you play well, Genesis heroes have the opportunity to find summoning shards. Those are NFTs. Genesis heroes can find these summoning shards as they quest to play the game. When they find them, they can use them to summon additional heroes. So if you think about one project a lot of us have in common is DFK. There you need to pair heroes. It doesn't really have to do with gameplay. It has to do with the cooldown. And there's a lot of genes going on and like we'll call it a marriage. In our game, it's simply if you find a summoning shard as you play the game, you can use it and consume it. There's no cooldown and you can summon a new hero. So or you can either sell the summoning shard or sell the hero you summon, up to you. But that is an NFT that you find as you play the game. So when you encounter a monster and you kill it, you have a very small chance of finding a summoning shard as you do that. So let me restate this in game terms. If you're good at the game and you understand the mechanics, you itemize correctly, you use your spells correctly and wisely, you have a better chance of finding summoning shards because you're fighting and killing more monsters per day.
That's awesome. Interesting concept. D Hype, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to chime in or did you have
I was
anything to
giving
say?
you a high five, but yes, also that. Um, this is so cool because just I've played video games my whole life, starting with like Nintendo, with Zelda, stuff like that. I don't know, like if you have a history of doing it or experience with video games, but like the old school games like Zelda where like every time you go to any map you could die, like you have to be careful, the guys can jump out, all of a sudden you could fight off a big chonker, a big like very strong like monster, and like that element of games is a little bit gone nowadays. Now it's just kind of like run around, do some things, whatever. But like this game, Jess, literally I have the ability to do some of like the practicing and learning about the game of like the very beginning, like simple version of it, so that I can create content to show people the game. And I'm telling you, Jess, like it's so difficult. Like literally right now, like deer, there's like giant stags that are sidestepping every move I'm making, and there's these like bridge trolls, and like we have this ongoing joke of like chonkers, like how am I gonna die next in the game when I fight a chonker, right? And the thing that's crazy is that like I literally am nervous. My like nervous system is like on edge when I'm playing this thing, right? Like I'm like, am I even gonna be able to beat this monster? Because the thing about it is that like if you die, like you lose your items, like except for one item you can save. And it's a big deal. Like there's a lot on the line here with this game. It's not just like, tiptoe through the tulips. You have to actually figure out how the game works. You have to try to be good at it. So there's like a whole experience to this game. Like there's this amazing background ambiance music and voiceover acting and lore going on, right? And that's something that's kind of missing in a lot of these Web3 games, like Bloater Punch went over, because like a lot of them are just like dressed up dexes or whatever. This is an actual game where it's exciting to play and it's fun. And the thing about it too is that like it's incorporating this idea of a Genesis hero, which has a special ability. Now it's not going to give you an advantage in actually playing the game, but so everybody's equal, even if you don't have a Genesis hero. But the thing is, if you want this is a community-based game. The community gets to decide the supply of heroes in the game. Like the OG Genesis hero holders are the ones that are able to find the summoning shards and get new heroes into the game, right? So the thing for me that I love about this game is the excitement and fun and adventure, coupled with the idea that you're actually looking for long-term success in this game. It's about long-term stability and reliability, right? Those are two things that are like not found in Web3 games very much and that I've seen. And so those are the things that made me really excited about this game when they had their first town hall, because like really, we were worried about this in Web3, like what is the motivation of the team? And this is obviously a very big passion project meant for the community, for them to have a lot of fun.
No, I think those are all great points. And Craig, I'll go to you in a second. I just have one more question before I lose it, because you brought up a good point about this long-term vision. We've seen a lot of games that have, a token attached, and, it hasn't really benefited in the long term. So could you talk about this idea about sustainable tokenomics and how that's going to play into the game with a longer term vision?
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of the irony is oftentimes people kind of glaze over the tokenomics, and I think those can make or break projects very easily. So I'm going to say something that makes some people uncomfortable, but it's absolutely essential that we manage the expectations. And that is there's a current paradigm in Web3, or I'll call it during the bull run especially, where projects would say, hey, I'm going to launch with 40,000% APR incentivized liquidity or single staking. And you're like, that's so cool, 40,000% APR. I love that. And just for reference, my bank gives me 4.5% APR right now. So 40,000% is awesome. But what that means actually is they're emitting a crap ton of tokens into the ecosystem. And when people have that many tokens, what happens is they generally sell them, and the token price ends up having incredible headwinds because there's so much sell pressure from all these tokens. That's not our project. That's the old way. The new way, what we want to establish as a standard, is instead of emitting all these tokens, there's actually just a dichotomy of winners and losers. And the winners and losers are determined not by luck or by money, it's determined by skill. So when you play the game, you are competing against other people in the game. And if you do well, you earn prizes. That's our way of emitting tokens, is by you doing well and playing the game and doing so well that we give you prizes. And a lot of people can earn prizes. However, everyone can't earn prizes, or it's essentially a Ponzi scheme, right? I'm just laddering my tokens out on the backs of the community, and that's not what we want to do. So there's, I guess, to summarize, the community and what we're trying to message is you have to be comfortable with a winner-loser situation. And if you're not, it's essentially a Ponzi scheme and it will eventually fail. Because if everyone is winning, that means it's a musical game of musical chairs. And so what I'm saying is there's winners, but there's also losers. And what determines who wins and loses is simply skill. Who learns the game, who makes the best choices, takes risks, etc. It's about the gameplay, it's about the game.
Great points. I like it. I like it. And I
Can
do
I?
feel, go ahead, D-Hype, and then we'll get to the hands.
I just want to add to that really quick. We actually do this even right now. Like we have these awesome contests that are so fun, Bloater. And I think I'm just gonna do one right now because if you look up at that tweet in the Jumbotron, there's a link to the Discord, and we'd like to get people in there so they can learn about the game. You can see all the stuff, the town hall videos, the Medium articles. There's so much cool information that we do this fun contest where people can go in the Discord, and whoever has the best description of how I die by chonker will get a whitelist spot. Okay, so like Jess, imagine you're going through the forest, right? And you hear all this noise like left and right, and you're like, what's out there? And you're like on edge, right? Your nerves are on edge, and all of a sudden this giant chonker just shows up in front of you, right? Like in the middle of the night in the forest, right? And you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna lose all my items, I'm gonna lose all my quests, it's gonna be terrible, right? So this is the thing, like there's been so many amazing, beautiful, creative descriptions of how I die by chonker. It could be literally anything you could imagine, right? And it's been this thing because like I'm playing like this demo version of the game and I'm getting my butt kicked by all these monsters left and right. And I'm like, bro, this game is not easy. Like it makes me like think about the old school 8-bit Nintendo games that were hard. Like Zelda was not easy to actually beat that game. Final Fantasy, all that stuff, right? You had to actually have strategy, have like courage to get through that fight and figure it out. So if I'm going to invite people to go up to that tweet, jump in the Discord, and give an amazing description of how I die by chonker. I mean, we've had so many hilarious like descriptions. It is so funny. And I'll pick at least one person that has the best description, the most creative, fun one, to win a whitelist giveaway because just I love not only competition, but I like having fun. And like this has been so much fun over the last couple of weeks to see the amazing creativity that people in the gaming space have.
That's awesome, D-Hype. We do have some people up here. I am going to ask you guys to keep it on topic. Crad, what's going on?
Well, I was listening to this. I thought it was super cool. I'm curious to honestly hear how the tokenomics pan out a little further because there's definitely some really interesting mechanics there. And yeah, I just wanted to come up to the stage and see how everyone's doing and, give a shout out to everybody and hope anyone here who's not, in New York to come to New York. And it's great seeing y'all.
Absolutely. Do you have any specific questions about the tokenomics you'd like me to address?
Absolutely. So, like, I guess more concurrently, I'm wondering is because, like, in any model where there's like an earn to win or a type of conveyance that is based on either a skill set or a threshold of compatible skill sets or whatever you're putting together. Typically, there's somebody who's going to be all in and who's going to kind of control the network or the big dog in any game or duopoly as you kind of mentioned or dichotomy. There's usually the tallest standing man, whoever receives the highest APY, or the person that has the biggest return because of the most skill set. Do you have some prevention models or like nullifiers to make so like new players are going to be versing vets and things like that, just to try to keep that contingency as fair as possible as you're laddering new customers into this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge priority, and I'm glad you touched on this because I think it's really important. Okay. And that is, let's say I'm 4 months into the project and we have new players coming on. What we don't want to do is create disincentives like, hey, you haven't been here for the first 4 months, so you essentially really can't compete or can't have fun and can't earn these prizes. So the season model resets after every season. So let's say I'm just crushing it. I'm so good. I got so much great gear, etc. Well, that resets. So if you're a new player, you came in month 4, starting, of course, the existing people will have an understanding of the game and how the mechanics work, but there'll be articles, right, that you could catch up without playing. And ultimately, once the new season flips, everyone's on equal footing again. So no one has an inherent advantage. And that leads me to my next point. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire. You cannot pay to win in this game. There's no advantage you get in game with money. So even if you had a bajillion dollars, you can't buy more quests, which isn't something we really talked about yet. You have a limited amount of actions per day called quests. And how you use those determines how efficiently you can level and get through the game. If you die you lose your quest for the day. And there's no, well, can I pay $100 for some extra quests? No. Well, what if I have a more rare hero? Does that give me an in-game advantage? No. So everyone showing up later, to your point, is on equal footing always. There's no additional advantage other than your understanding of the game that would persist season to season, if that makes sense. There's one other thing I wanted to touch on with tokenomics. So another way where we've tried to message to the community that we're serious and that we're legitimate and that we don't, we want everyone to have a great time and for this to be a legitimate project. I haven't received a dime of compensation in the last 14 months since we started. And my tokens, which I do have a publicly vesting token, it doesn't even begin to vest until the 31st day after launch. And then it vests over the next 11 months. So if the project flops in 2 months, I was not able to really, quote, ladder any gains because most of my tokens will be vested. And that's the same for every other single team member. And that's the same for the investors. So that means there's no sell wall on day 1. And by day 30, none of the investors or team members can sell. And by day 31, they can sell one out of 11 times 30 days of their tokens, if that makes sense, meaning it vests over the next 11 months. So very slow trickle. And again, trying to position ourselves as very community friendly and trying to demonstrate legitimacy, which is typical, I guess, in the Web 2 space and has been lacking in the Web 3 space. And I know that was a lot of points, so I'll pause. Any other questions on that? But I just wanted to throw those concepts out.
Yeah, I think that was a great question, Brad. Did you have anything else or did that cover your question?
Yeah, no. So I kind of like to funnel it back as well, and I'd even say like, so one thing, and it has to my knowledge because obviously I'm coming into this in the 11th hour, but more so in a sense of quality control, like for many people here who've played online games or might know of like Dota, MOBA, League of Legends, Fortnite, whatnot. There's usually an insane severity scale to people who are actually good at the game versus like your on-comers. Do you have like ideas for that, like preset lobbies or things like that, or ways of segregation and a ranking system? Just more to the fact of trying to think of a way so that as people get in, because sure, it doesn't matter if you have infinite amount of money, you can't win. But I will say that was the same that was the same conditions to Dookie Dash, and that didn't stop the richest motherfuckers hiring that dude to play the game, so that they won the $5 million prize, and he weased it off for 1.6 million to some random dude because he could just hire the best gamer to play it. You know what I mean? So I'm always curious to a laddering system or a ranking kind of ladder scale.
So as a very, very, very seasoned and mediocre Dota player, Divine 5 was my highest rank, just throwing it out there. That is a game, or CSGO is a good example, League of Legends. These are very, very technical, mechanical games, right? This is not that game. This is an RPG. So when you say, well, that guy's the best in the world, there's no mechanics. There's no, I guess, let me back up. There are mechanics. There's no physical mechanics, right? Like I don't have to there's no, like CSGO, I play a lot of CSGO. There's people who are the best aimers in the world. This is an RPG. So it's all about decision-making and risk management. And anyone who puts in the time can be really good at that. That's one, okay? But the other side is, and let me explain a little more about prizes. If you imagine 100 people in a season, for example, 40 of them might do pretty good. And maybe the top 5 do really good, and the next 10 do pretty dang good, et cetera, down those 40. And then other people aren't doing as good or losing their entry fee, but there's a large amount of people. So the prizes aren't concentrated. And that, I think, partly mitigates, let's say someone just is crazy good. They just understand the game better. Well, they only have one hero, which means they only get one piece of those prizes, right? So they would have to play the game across many, many, many heroes, which again, if someone wants to buy that many heroes, I think it's great for the community to create that kind of demand. But to your point, we have talked about a winners losers bracket. So let's say you always win. Well, you'll be in a winner's bracket with other people that always win. And if you're struggling, we'll put you with people who generally have struggled. And so in that way, we want to manage what you're talking about as well. I don't think it will be quite the problem. It would be like, say, in a Dota game where some of the best players in the world, I would not beat them 1 million out of 1 million games. That's not going to be this. I think this has more to do, again, if you think about like a Final Fantasy VII or a Pokemon, there's decision making, there's battling, but there's not such a high skill curve that if you were that good, you would always 100% of the time win. There's RNG involved, right? There's risk involved. So I don't think we would have the same problems like a CSGO or a League or a MOBA would have, because the skill cap is so high. But I think there is a reasonable skill cap which will allow for players to make and break on decision making and on risk taking. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. I don't know if Crad is there, but thank you, Bloater, for that explanation. I think it totally makes sense. D-Hype, before I go to you, let's go to NFT crypto Quais, maybe?
Hey, what's up? It's NFT crypto
Oh,
keys.
sorry, I was close,
And,
maybe?
yeah, thanks for letting me up. I resonate with this a lot. I played a blockchain game and I started some videos a long time ago, but life kind of got in the way. But I had a question. What blockchain and what token? Because I heard that there's a token and there's a specific token to the game that I played too, which is really cool. And it's along the line of dragons, so that's why I came in here. But what blockchain is your game on?
So I will answer that question. It is on Arbitrum. Okay, we just announced that today. The token is not yet launched. It'll be called DCX, but it is not yet launched, and it will not launch until the game launches in May. But I would say if anyone has any questions, the Discord's open. We just hit 1,000 members. Well, over 1,000, but 1,000 verified members today. We have a Twitter at Dragons Crossing. We've got a website, dragonscrossing.com. If you have any questions about the game, check out our website. It's fantastic. The web designer did a phenomenal job, and you can click through and get all, everything I'm pretty much talking about is on the website, dragonscrossing.com. We have a YouTube. You can watch our town halls, Dragons Crossing YouTube, and see gameplay and or other mechanics. But to answer your questions, we're launching on Arbitrum. The token will be DCX, and the token will not be available until game launch.
And maybe just a follow-up question to that, because I know, there's obviously lots of different blockchains you could have gone with. What made you decide to go with Arbitrum?
Yeah, great question. Let me tell you, the blockchain search was difficult. There were a lot of really good options. We considered among our top three were DFK Chain, AVAX, Polygon, and Polygon. We went with Arbitrum because they have incredible momentum and because they seem to be an up-and-coming HubSpot for games. But yeah, the overall TVL, if you look at their TVL, is phenomenal. Their activity, the volume is phenomenal. And so we felt like, those factors, among others, is what really sealed the deal for us. But we spent months researching blockchains, meeting with blockchain teams, and we eventually settled on Arbitrum.
We love to see it. Yeah, one of my co-hosts, Dow, he's a huge Arbitrum supporter, so definitely learned a lot about Arbitrum from him.
Go Arbitrum.
Let's go. But I do see we have Crypto Grady up. Welcome. Did you have anything you wanted to chime in?
Well, shout out, Jess. Baby, good job building this thing up. This thing is blown up. You've done a hell of a job here. Thanks for letting us come on. Let's let Doug talk. He's been raising his hand here for a bit.
Doug, did you have something to chime in? If not, I'll keep going.
Yeah, sorry, my button wasn't working. Crypto Grady just wants to hear all the ways I'm going to die by Chonker right now. That's what he's wondering about. There's somebody writing like a gigantic paragraph, like whole page story in the Discord right now. I just want, first of all, there's tons of people joining the Discord, but not many people typing. So you have a really good chance of winning this whitelist giveaway. Let me tell you, the whitelist is really, really, really interesting because the whitelist is going to give you a gigantic discount on this mint. Okay. So like right now in the Discord, now the people that are in the ecosystem are like feverishly joining these contests to try to get a whitelist. And it's like highly sought after. There's only 300 spots for the whitelist at the discount in price where, and I can let Bloater Punch talk about like the whitelist price and all that stuff more too, but it's like a very large discount for the whitelist. And the thing is that like people have had so many cool responses to this fun giveaway. Some of them only just say something simple like shot to the knee, like arrow to the knee or whatever, right? So really we just want to be fun and we want people to participate and be engaged and like join the community and see everyone's personalities, right? Like you can learn a lot about people's personalities, who they are, what they care about from the way they describe things. Like we're border on having like this specific lore just for how I keep on getting killed by chonkers. I mean, I could go over so many of the funny ways where like one chonker, like I was out adventuring in the farmland and they described him as being like more slippery than a greased up pig at a country fair. And eventually I was able to get my hands on the chonker and I killed him and I brought him home to eat him. And then I died of dysentery when I ate him. So like, and then Oregon Trail shout out. Okay. So anyways, it's just really a lot of fun. So I invite everyone to go in there. You can just click on the link in Discord. You can pop up right now for you while you're listening. But it's just really cool. And the whitelist itself is really exciting because I know me personally, I wish I was around for a lot of these other games when they minted in the beginning for like the Gen Zero heroes. They have a lot of cool like traits about them. Also, you should know that me and Crypto Grady have been streaming, talking about all this stuff. Yeah, baby. And if you don't know Crypto Grady, he has a famous saying, Crypto Grady. So, Crypto Grady, can you give us an oh baby right now for the fans, for the Dragon's Crossing? Can we get a Jess for the boys? Can we get a Jess baby? Can we get I love you baby? Let's go.
Baby, I love you. Jess, baby, Bloater, baby, Doug Hype, TV, baby. I love you guys. Yeah, so what's been bleeding through here? What really caught my attention, I already knew these guys for one. So they have their channel, Inner Grove, awesome stuff going, DeFi Kingdoms community there. And that's how I knew these guys. And what's bleeding through here is that they want to be a long-lasting, sustainable game. And from what I see, they are setting the tone. They are basically setting the record of how and creating a pattern of this is how you do it. This is how you create a long-term sustainable game with sustainable values of gaming NFTs and sustainable tokens, the tokenomics. They want to do it right. Their heart is in the right place. Their core values, it's not money driven. So Bloater Punch, Baby Punch, Sandwich Punch, all the punches. First of all, they have phenomenal developers building this thing out with them. We could get into that. But his vision, Bloater Punch, couldn't sleep. He's tossing and turning in bed at night. He always had it in his mind. He's been big Dungeons and Dragons guy, played all these different games, and always thought, hey, he always had this idea in his mind to create an awesome game. And one night it came to it where it's like, we could actually do this. And so he embarked on this crazy journey to actually create his own project, which is nuts. Okay, to do that, to put all that together is crazy. And so, but it's so passion driven. It's not about making a quick buck. He's still working his job. He wants to make an awesome, fun, sustainable game that's long lasting, that's always getting better, always improving. He's open-minded. There's going to be so many benefits here. And it's a type of project I want to get behind.
That's awesome, Grady. And on that, I
Yes.
did want to ask, because something just came to my mind. Like going forward, and Bloater, I'll throw this one over to you. Like, how do you plan to get the community involved as far as like the trajectory of the project going forward?
Are you talking about leading up to the bid, like how we're going to drive engagement and drive adoption?
No, just like what's coming for the game in the future. They're going to be, is the community going to have any say in what's coming out next?
Absolutely. We want it to be as community driven as possible. I think there will be massive community input on the direction. Our job as the management team is to put together something amazing, and that's what we're really focused on. So I get questions sometimes about roadmaps, which I think I just have a bad taste in my mouth because of all those projects that put together amazing roadmaps and then didn't execute. So my focus is on executing in the short term, launching a beautiful, fun, amazing game day one, executing that. But I think down the road, as we develop, I would love, and we want to put the onus on the community to say, hey, these are directions we can go. An example would be, we could go PvP immediately after launch, or we could go some different game modes, maybe like an adventuring mode that isn't seasonal. And so getting community feedback on things like that would be fantastic and would help us make better decisions and involve the community in like a community vote. Definitely things we're talking about on how we can put the choices and the decision making in the hands of the community in a responsible way.
That's right. And I'm going to be doing daily videos, Jess, pretty much daily videos. We got Brown Gent down here too. He's in the house now, baby. Brown Gent, Doug Hype, and I, we're going to be, so I'm going to make myself very available to the community. I'm going to be playing the game with the community live on air on a very regular, pretty much daily basis with the community, getting all the feedback in the world with direct access right back to the team, helping onboard new people, getting all the feedback. And we're going to be listening very closely to all of that.
Well, I think, thanks for sharing that. And I think that comes to my next question, which is a question in the chat. And does this mean that team members won't be able to play because logically they understand the math behind the mechanics, giving them an advantage?
So maybe I.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Brown Jen, please.
Yeah. So ironically, that's actually why I came up here, because there hasn't been that discussion here yet. But I think one of the things we're trying to differentiate ourselves, as much as we love this game, and I think everyone thinks they have the secret sauce, and part of it is like we're really starting to see that as we get further in development and really on the precipice of launching. What we have decided as a team is not a single one of the people who has access to the background of the game. So we have what we call the core team, which is like Boulder Punch, the other punches, Savage Punch, Baby Punch, Granite, myself, and a few others. Those who have intel and sort of alpha on the game, we're not allowed to play. That is a decision that we made because we want to make sure that we build a game. We're not building it for ourselves. We're building it for everyone, right? Every single one of us has come to this together because we have been part of games that we thought had a lot of potential that never really went anywhere. And also the optics on sometimes were like, let's say you were in a game where you saw people who were, let's say, higher up win their own giveaways. We don't want any of that. Not a single one of us is allowed to participate in any of the giveaways. We're not sort of going to be involved in anything that could take value away for anyone who plays the game. As simple as something as small as a summoning shard, because every single team member will get a sort of Genesis hero. However, we're not allowed to use it. We're not allowed to use it to find summoning shards and inflate the hero population. We're not doing any of that stuff. And by doing that, we don't tamper with any of the mechanics of the game. We get to play in our test net and have fun there. And, we have a community arm, which Grady and Doug Hype are part of. And because we have been very strategic from the start, not giving them alpha, because when we do launch, one of the really cool things, and something that I don't know was talked about because I missed the first few minutes, we haven't revealed every part of our game, and we don't plan on doing that. We're actually going to let the players figure that out for themselves, explore the game, explore module like this module that we have right now, and we're going to have prizes associated with it. And in that sense, we're truly going to be a game where you play, not a game where you pay to win, right? The idea, and I heard Bloater Punch talk about this, no matter how much money you have, you will not get the top spot like you would in some other games. And what we want to do is make it so the average person who doesn't have that big bank account has that opportunity to come in whenever they join and still have the opportunity to win, whether it's some special prizes, which we haven't announced yet, or whether it's within the seasonal rewards.
That's dope. Thanks for sharing that. And I guess maybe as me, somebody who plays game and isn't the best gamer, how do you incentivize the people that maybe are not at the top of the leaderboard to keep coming back?
Yeah, so
Here, Brown Jen, can I answer this as someone who's died 8,000 times already? Sorry. Part of the joke, Jess, is like I die a lot already. You're not supposed to die. Okay, apparently I'm terrible at this game, Jess, or at video gaming in general. But the thing is that there's a lot of RNG built into it. It's really more just about having fun and adventuring. I don't think that this game is going to be a deterrent to people that are not big time heavy gamers. Like, it's more about just making basic decisions. Should I continue adventuring? Should I take a risk on like defeating this monster and maybe like losing my items or go back? So it's like really basic life decisions. And there's little intricate parts of the game that you want to learn how things work and stuff. But for me, it's something that's really easy just to pick up and play. And for anybody that like, you know, is interested in gaming in general, there's nothing that you need with like hand-eye coordination that's like super high level. There's nothing that's like super insanely like genius level stuff. It's more about just like super like simple human decisions that you have to make of like, should I do this? What that's kind of dangerous. Should I go there? Should I go back to camp? And so for me, I think the game, like I said, I keep on relating it to like the 8-bit Nintendo games where anybody could pick up and like beat Zelda if they really wanted to, right? If they really wanted to put the time in and really learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Doug and I, what Brown Jen just said is spot on. We have a test demo of the game. They haven't told us a whole lot, anything. They haven't told us anything more than what the community already knows. We're just in there trying to figure out what the hell we're doing to make video content for the community. And that's what he's talking about right there.
Yeah. The one thing I would add to this as well is, so I sort of relate the seasonal model to like the poker, right? Like if you play No Limit Hold'em, 95% of people who play No Limit Hold'em think they're good and they're terrible and they shouldn't play. Why do they keep playing? Because they have a chance to win because of RNG and because it's fun and have a great time doing that. And what we're trying to do is create a fun, competitive environment that is not like toxic, that sort of incentivizes players back with tons of decisions, right? And the idea here is eventually, hopefully, given enough time and practice, you'll get good. As parts in the game sort of adapt and change, you sort of will sort of build friendships and whatever, and maybe they can take you to the next level. But that's sort of like the way we see it. On top of that, not just the seasonal sort of rewards, but we also have other things planned that aren't going to be rolled out right now that will also be that like carrot that really sort of incentivizes the average player who wouldn't stand a chance in that like long-term model to still win.
I would piggyback on that one additional point. So the premise is we have skill-based decision making, but there is RNG involved, of course, like most things, like life, I guess. But on top of that, even if you're doing poorly during a season, let's say you're doing really bad, the incentive to continue playing is you could find valuable items and NFTs that still hold incredible value. So if you're holding a Genesis Hero, again, I've talked about this, it's all about playing the game. Even if you're not winning the season or earning tons of prize money, you could find an NFT that could be very valuable to you, right? So there's always reasons. Another reason would be, hey, I didn't do well this season, but I'm going to use my time now to get better, to focus on how I can make better decisions and try and better understand this game. So personally, I think for those that are struggling, I think there's always incentive. And then the last point is, I do believe we will have, this isn't a rolled out feature yet, because everyone will be in the same cohort for season 1. But I do see us rolling out a feature, which is, hey, if you lost in season 1, in season 2, you will be in a cohort with the losing people. And if you won in season 1, then in season 2, you would be with the winners. So we'll try different ways to incentivize people who said, hey, I didn't do that well. Why should I come back? We'll try and create features so that we don't encounter too much attrition there.
Awesome. Great answers, guys. NFT Crypto, you're up. Go ahead. Crypto Quiz or Kais? I forgot what it was already.
Oh, my bad. I forgot to hit the speaker. So you said a lot of amazing things. I'm gonna say one thing about this game for an example. I got into a game early and it was amazing. I realized that right off the rip. You guys talk about like rarity and being for everyone. Like, say there's a legendary item, say it's a sword or a shield, and those are recipes. So the recipes are for passive income, and there's only 750 of those of legendary items that will ever be produced by this game. So that means only 750 people or people who buy the NFT can earn passive income from other people who find the items to create these incomes. So I thought that was really cool. But this game is on Engine and JumpNet.
Wait.
I just want,
you have a question for them or what is it? Go ahead.
yeah, this is my question. Did you consider Engine or JumpNet, or do you know about Engine and JumpNet?
So we looked at a lot of different blockchains, and again, we settled on Arbitrum. We did look at essentially every single potential blockchain. We investigated it and took this super seriously. But I want to say this though, there, you just talked about some mechanics that I feel are not healthy for the ecosystem, for our ecosystem, which is I don't want people earning passive rewards. I want people incentivized. The only way you earn, or the only way you have an opportunity to earn prizes, is by playing the game. And there are, ancillary rewards like, hey, I found a summoning shard, I could sell it. But I don't want someone saying, well, I've gotten to the point that I don't even have to log in anymore. We want to create a really active, there's decision making, there's participation. So I see, I think those game mechanics sound interesting for that project, but I just want to reiterate again, for our project, everything is about participating in the game. And I will say another side of that is I'm 37, okay? I have 4 kids. I'm busy. I don't have time to play games for hours anymore, although sometimes I do when I should. So one aspect of our game, one feature of our game is to get a full play session should take you about 10 to 15 minutes. So you're sitting there, you're making some decisions, you use your quests for the day, you're done. There's no way to buy additional quests. There's no pay to win mechanics. There's no predatory mechanics. You get in, you do your quests, you bounce. And it should be a fun time. You should have to make decisions. You should be taking risks. There should be some tense points during that time. But at the end of the day, you're like, I'm in, I'm out, I'm ready to go. So hopefully that addresses some of that question.
Yeah, and for those people that want to play all day, it further incentivizes you to have more heroes, right? Is that right, Floater?
That's right. If you want to play more, we can't stop you from buying heroes, right? But one hero would be like a 10 to 15 minute play session. And I think to your point, Grady, if someone's like, you know what, I really like this and I'm doing well, okay, great. That's great for the community that you go buy another hero. Now, I will say something since we haven't talked about it and it's on this topic. Hero inflation is a huge heartburn point for me. And so I want NFTs to feel really valuable. And I want it, when you find the summoning shard, I want that to feel really, really good, regardless of its rarity. And so that's a huge other topic we've really tried to address with our mechanics, is that the market will not be flooded with heroes. So I think there should always be a healthy tension between supply and demand, supply of heroes in circulation and demand for them. It doesn't do the ecosystem or the game any good if you're finding a hero every quest. It would murder the price of heroes. It would murder the value of having heroes. And so that's another really important element of our game, is we want to be very careful with the supply of heroes coming out of the game. So all that to say, when you're playing the game, expect it to be very rare and feel very good when you find a hero. NFTs should have gameplay through potential and opportunity.
Love
And
it.
there is benefit to the rarity. There's extra benefit to having more rare heroes. Can you hit on that real quick?
Yeah. Jess, do I have time for this? I didn't want to, I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one thing I've said multiple times is you cannot pay to win. And I meant that even for hero rarity. So if you came in and you said, well, I've got all this money, I'll buy a mythic hero, the most rare hero. That's great. That will give you benefit, just not in-game benefit. Not seasonal advantage benefit. So what rarity does is it increases your odds of finding an NFT, but it doesn't make you play better, it doesn't make you stronger, doesn't make you better than anyone else inherently, but it does give you the opportunity to find additional NFTs, which still adds value, right? You want to find NFTs, you want to find more heroes, you want to find more skill books. And so we feel that's a really nice balance of, hey, this is a great benefit, but just because I have a mythic hero doesn't mean I'm going to win this season. So that's the purpose of hero rarity. And we feel really good for seasonal play that they should not have an inherent gameplay benefit for being rare.
Great answers. Love it. Love it. And yes, we are coming up to the top of the hour. So I know the next big thing is the mint. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the mint?
Yes, the mint is coming up in May, as is game launch. So we're, as just mentioned, she's putting the pressure on me. But yeah, we have a lot of things happening very, very soon. So again, if you're not in the Discord, hop in. That way you'll be apprised of all of the comings and goings for this project. But the mint is happening in May. There are 2,500 heroes, Genesis heroes, up for grabs. 300 of those will go to the whitelist, and 2,200 will go to the public mint. The public mint price is $300, tied to a stable coin, not a chain coin. So it'd be 300 USDC, for example. You also have the opportunity to boost your mint to increase your rarity. But as I said before, rarity, while it's awesome, it does not increase your ability to be good at the game. The whitelist is phenomenal. So if you're not in the Discord, you really should be, because you have a greater chance of getting a whitelist. A whitelist is 50% off the NFT mint price. So we're minting at a $300 base, which means if you have a whitelist, you could have a potential to mint a hero for $150. I think that's most of it. So yeah, coming up in May, mint price. Again, if you have any questions about the mint, check out the website, dragonscrossing.com has mint details there now. You can check out what do you get when you get a hero. There are 3 unique classes, Ranger, Mage, and Warrior. And when you mint, you randomly get a gender assigned, a rarity assigned, and a class assigned. If you decide to boost, you increase your rarity odds, and you could choose your gender and class. So if you're like, I really want to be a warrior female, okay, I'm going to boost. I get to pick my warrior female, and the odds of my warrior female being a mythic or a legendary go way up. So those are the mint details. Any follow-ups on that?
Oh, no. Well, one follow-up, I did want to just say that the art is absolutely beautiful. So I did want to add that as well.
I know, I love our art. I've been on some projects where I'm like, someone sketched this in like 10 minutes. But no, our art is, I think, really compelling.
Who was the artist behind the art?
So if you're in the Discord, you can see her as well. She's one of the sages. Her name's Domino Sejin. She's very active on Twitter. She has her own project going as well with beautiful art. And she is the one who provided art for our project. So all the NFTs and all of the land and land assets, the tile assets, are all from Domino Sejin.
Sejin is definitely an OG. But yeah, we are coming up to the top of the hour. So D-Hype, I'll let you go last. Any last words for us?
Yeah, it's really great that you bring it up, because the NFT artwork is actually absolutely gorgeous. I put a tweet up there real quick just to help people, remind people, and they can see, like, there's me yelling hype next to the NFT. You can see that's a female ranger there. And so the artwork is gorgeous, and you can see, you know, as this project moves forward, right now there's 6 different of the Genesis heroes that you can get, and of course there's going to be Rift heroes coming and all kinds of other stuff. But this is really gorgeous art. The NFT drop itself, the mint, is going to be absolutely crucial to get on that whitelist, because you get 50% off. Those first 300 spots are 50% off the whitelist. And as we heard here today, people that are like really into gaming, I'm guessing, are going to want to get multiple of these, probably, because, you know, like, if you really like gaming, that's kind of what happens. You look at people like Crypto Brady, other people that are into Web3 games, even myself, and we all have multiple heroes. Like, we have many, many heroes in the games and stuff, right? So that's something to consider. And right now in the Discord, it is hilarious. People are getting very sultry with these descriptions of how I die, Jess. Apparently, I meet a sultry chonker in the bar. It tends to be the meta now somehow. And there's all kinds of different ways that I'm getting murdered or killed by this chonker. But, like, seduction seems to be part of it. One of them, I actually get kissed by one, and I slowly over the years go reverse age, and I turn into a baby chonker and then explode. So it's pretty hilarious, all the creativity that people are throwing in there, because a big part of gaming, Jess, is the creativity in the lore. People make their own fan fiction. That's pretty much what I'm incentivizing people to do, is just make fan fiction of how I die. And it's a lot of fun. You know, video gaming, you might think it's like, oh, you need to be super technical. Oh, you need to be really smart in order to be the best. Like, if you're trying to be the world's best Fortnite player and you want to make a living off Fortnite or Call of Duty, you have to be really good at that. You have to train for years and become really good. But a game like this that deals a lot in just fun adventure and RNG is really just about playing the game and learning a few things. And there's not really any insane amount of skill that you have to have for this game. It's meant for everyone in the community just to have a fun time, be rewarded, and be part of a great project. You know, that's really the heart and soul of this project. And you know, me and Grady are going to be our community team members of the team of Dragon's Crossing, and we're going to be playing along with the community and have the same amount of information access as everyone else. So we're going to be playing and doing streams with you guys, giving feedback to the team and giving them amazing ideas. There's so many genius, beautiful, creative ideas that come out of the community, right? That help the team learn stuff and think, oh, that's a great idea. You know, we'll consider that, right? We've had a lot of spaces like that. So it's a lot of fun.
Thanks, D-Hype. But yeah, it's I appreciate you guys for coming by and sharing with us. Bloater, any last words or anything you want to leave us with? Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, last words are thanks so much for having us. You're amazing. This is an amazing project you have going. So thanks for hosting us. You've been amazing, great questions. Really enjoyed coming on. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, make sure to check out the pinned tweet, check out Dragon's Crossing, and yeah, and looking forward to the event and see what you guys what happens next month. Looking forward to the launch of the project. But yeah,
Awesome.
Thank you guys, and have a great night.
Thank you, Jess. See ya.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thanks.